Jag Sharma, and I can't wait to launch the center with Evelyn today. This is a huge step for us for the Confronting Anti-Black Racism strategy, and this is just such an honor to be here and part of it. Thank you, everyone.
Hi, my name is Kathleen Dubé, and I'm proud to live in Toronto Community Housing and be here today for the launch of the centre.
Yo, yo, yo. Today we're here to launch the Center for Advancing the Interests of Black People. I'm your MC, Andrew Cox, better known as Jada Man. CABR unit, it's gonna be a good one.
Let us not forget the strength and resiliency of our African ancestors. Miigwech. And you may be seated.
Welcome our director for the Confronting Anti-Black Racism Unit at Toronto Community Housing, Evelyn Ampansa.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you for being here to celebrate the launch of the Center for Advancing the Interests of Black People, the Center for short. We're here today to celebrate the launch of the Center. We're also here today to unveil the logo for the Center. And just to give you some background on the logo, we actually had a few different options that were designed by Damika. Damika is a Black woman, and she owns a design firm called Unsigned. And we worked with Damika to think about what we wanted the brand and the vision of the center to be. What was important for us, and this has been important since the beginning of the strategy, was to make sure that anything we do is informed by our tenants and our staff, as the stakeholders, as the people who are most impacted by the work that we're going to be doing. And so we had a vote. We voted. There were two options. People had the opportunity to vote, tenants had the opportunity to vote, and staff had the opportunity to vote. So the DJ is gonna give us a drum roll, and so let's turn these things around to unveil the logo. Thank you. So this is the new logo for the center. It's the Reconstruct logo. The Reconstruct logo asks us to think about our past and think about where we want to go and do the work of learning from that past to get us to where we want to go in relation to the way that we have done work with our Black communities. Misha started us off in such a touching way. And the words that she mentioned, I want to echo them when we think about this Reconstruct, right? We're thinking about this history of Indigenous and Black people in Canada, and we're thinking about where do we want to go? And TCHC was asked that question. We heard from tenants and from staff that, you know, the work that we have been doing was harmful to our Black staff and to our Black tenants. Sometimes intentionally, sometimes unintentionally. Regardless, we heard that problem, and we decided that we were gonna respond to that. But today you're gonna hear from a curated list of speakers, past and present people who are connected to TCHC, who have supported with the development of the strategy. We wanted to really give you an opportunity to hear about the 8-point plan and the strategy and the ways in which we're gonna work to transform not just Toronto Community Housing, but this city that we all live in. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy this evening.
For that reason, I think it is time that we as a corporation reconstruct the narrative of social support networks. Social support networks are not party groups. They're not just for socializing. When social support networks are given the tools, the resources, and the manpower behind them to navigate change, this is what comes out of it. Real, long-lasting change is what comes out of it. And that change does not just benefit the people. It benefits the people and the corporation.
Removal of the stigmatizing language that targets social housing neighborhoods, reaffirming the unique living experiences of Black tenants, and also understanding that language holds power. So this can include denouncing stereotypical terms as it relates to social housing, recognizing that these are communities with people that live in it, and we should address these communities as such.
The children, definitely strength, courage. Sometimes you might be by yourself, but you gotta still stand strong and never give up.
To even go further, TCHC and this center has the ability to create more access to opportunities for Black youth. Poverty is pervasive in these communities, with Black youth being unemployed at stark rates. Many youth in consultation spoke of wanting to be active contributors in shaping their communities. And what better way to do that than to be the ones to build it yourself? Imagine this center partnering with community organizations, labor groups, and post-secondary institutions during the construction period of housing projects to provide resident youth with skill development, apprenticeship, and employment opportunities. This is something that is possible and can happen. I've seen it firsthand that it can happen.
Similar to the quotation I shared moments ago, the Confronting Anti-Black Racism strategy takes a system-wide view to understanding and discussing dismantling anti-Black racism. It's why there's an 8-point plan that transcends the idea of physical shelter, with pillars including focuses on mental health, cultural redress, economic well-being, and supporting social networks. This strategy reconstructs the idea that fair and decent housing is about being able to access a roof and 4 walls. Access to a safe, clean, modern, affordable, and suitably sized home is critically important. But also, the strategy insists that the responsibility upon TCHC and all social housing providers is so much greater. The social in social housing is not an option, as the strategy states.
I really appreciate the fact that Toronto Community Housing is taking this as an initiative. We know that anti-Black racism matters. Why? Because it's trauma. And we know that when it comes to trauma, we need to support people. We need to create safe spaces. We need to have organizations, partnerships that allow for people to seek out the support that they need.
Hello, Mayor John Tory here, and it's a great pleasure for me to share a few words with you as you launch the Center of Advancing the Interests of Black People. The Center has already had an immensely positive impact, including supporting the resolution of tenant conflicts grounded in anti-Black racism, developing policies to better protect BIPOC residents, and sourcing new employee counseling resources that can better understand the needs of our Black communities. I'm also pleased to hear that the Center has established a tenant staff oversight and advisory board, and that will drive accountability and assist in guiding the implementation of the CABR strategy. So, we're not just setting up infrastructure, we're going to be engaging tenants and staff and stakeholders to continue to advance this strategy. Because we know, without a doubt, we must do a full appraisal in order to incite real and meaningful and lasting change. We've got to uncover the very systems that allow anti-Black racism to become entrenched in the first place if we want to be able to truly deconstruct them. So for that, thank you for your commitment to this crucial work. You have my word. I will continue to be an ally and staunch supporter of your efforts. And I look forward to hearing more about this program and the meaningful changes it will yield in our city services, and by extension, the benefits that will flow to many, many Torontonians at large. Thank you for all that you do.
Excellent. I want to recognize Mayor John Tory and the kind words that he had to share. And I like the idea that Andrew said. We really do need to ensure that we've taken his thoughts and we ensure that we hold him and myself accountable, because this is a very important day for us. We won't solve the problem overnight, but we are on our way. And with everyone's involvement, we can build the communities that we want to see.
How can a center for advancing the interest of Black peoples unpack this, begin to implement policies and procedures? Well, if we look at the use of the agent of landlord agreement, some would argue that community asked for this. The spiraling effects of violence
force community to look for a means to address this issue. But then on the other hand, you have communities across our continent, right, across North America, really wanting change to occur. But yet missing in all these discussions is how does this impact local residents in TCHC communities? How does this affect Black residents in TCHC communities? And that's where Stay Alive by Mustafa is so powerful. He asks us again in his verse at the back end of his song, Stay Alive. And he says, all these traps and all these street signs, none of them will be yours or mine. So how can local residents who don't feel a sense of belonging or ownership over their communities, how can they work to improve safety and well-being? How?
I look at the room today, and it's unfortunate. When I look at the room, we're talking anti-Black racism, and the majority of the folks that are here are Black. We should not be preaching to ourselves. We should be speaking, and the knowledge that was shared here tonight, and I will challenge the CEO to make sure that all of the managers, especially the non-Black managers, take the time to sit and unpack this.
So I just want to give some examples of some of these wonderful contracts that our tenants can actually get, and just to raise the attention, the awareness of folks in this room. We have talent in our communities. We have folks that are doing things officially, unofficially, but they make amazing contributions to our society every single day. In one of the communities that I work in, this is a kitchen renovation that's actually done by tenants. These two young men, they have their own renovation-based companies, and they deliver services to us directly. So this kitchen renovation was done at a community center that provides food security-based programs. They recognized at a very early state that the center was falling apart, the kitchen facilities were falling apart, impacting their ability to deliver programming. These young men, they got a contract and they delivered. This is with tenant labor, this is with tenants securing their own materials, and this is with tenant intellectual capital.
So as a TCHC employee, every interaction that you have with our bosses, because the TCHC tenants are our bosses. Without them, we're not here. So every interaction that we have with them influences their paradigm of how fair and legitimate they see TCHC. And this is why I feel like TCHC staff, service excellence shouldn't be a target that we're aiming to hit. It should be mandatory.
I should have known better. I asked a bunch of Black people to come and talk about anti-Black racism, and I really thought they were gonna stick to the 5 minutes that I gave them. So I guess I'm still learning about this anti-Black racism thing as well, right? Toronto and Toronto Community Housing and the Center for Advancing the Interests of Black People, we made a huge investment as an organization, as a company, into this center. 17 and a half staff, $2 million, that's a huge investment. Please use the center when you're confused about anti-Black racism, when Black people are involved. For whatever reason, contact the center. Give us that bat call. Give us this center call, right? That's why we're here. And so today, I want to just wrap things up by really inviting you all to participate in this journey that we're taking as a corporation. We really have an opportunity to change this city. It's not just Toronto Community Housing. We were talking about it a little bit earlier, but Toronto Community Housing tenants, staff, we're your fellow Torontonians. We're not some people that live in these social housing places somewhere, right? We live in Toronto. This is work that we all need to be invested in, and transforming the city is something we all can do. But I really want us to really think about what this space can do. And you know what? It doesn't have to have a material benefit on you. It doesn't need to benefit you, right? I think sometimes when we do this anti-Black racism work, people are asking, what am I gonna get out of it? Why is this important for me? It doesn't need to be important for you. It's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do because we talk about diversity, we talk about inclusion, we talk about equity, and then when people ask us to believe Black people, we question that and we say, what about me? If these are the things that we value, right? This is the work that we have to do because it's the right thing to do. I'll just leave it there. I think everything that needed to be said has been said. But I want to thank you all. I want to shout out my interns because I always got to shout out the young people. So Natalie, Charles, who are, can you please just give a wave, do something? Charles, do something, thank you. Stephen was one of them. Misha was actually one of them as well. Some other folks that are not here. I really want to shout them out because honestly, we were given a huge task to develop that strategy within a couple of months. And we did it, and I need you all to have my back and to have the back of the center and to utilize us and to recognize that, you know, we've come up with a solution here, so let's use it. Let's not put it to waste. All right, that's it. Thank you.